CrossFit and Delivers athletes. Let's talk about the program for tomorrow. I'm actually going to go and stop explaining the actual workout and just go straight into the intentions, the strategies of what I want you to have in your mind for the day. So let's talk about the skill practice. It's going to be just the raw pulling section into the muscle ups and dips. I want you guys to think when you're working on pull-ups, you need to start that negative, the descending. If you're doing not being able to do strict pull-ups yet, start at the highest position possible. If that means that you're up to here to your chest, right? If that means that right now it's just barely to the chin, but keep on trying to pull yourself as high as you can to start that negative. On the flip side, for those of you that can do strict pull-ups, you need to go ahead and be thinking, pull as far down to your chest as possible, right? It's important to develop the strength within the appropriate range of motion, because we have to understand building this raw strength is only applicable, right? We have chest to bar pull-ups in our sport or in our fitness, right? Regime, and we have muscle ups, which means that you are going to pull the implement lower than your chest. So we need to make sure in our strict sessions we are trying to pull as low as we can. Okay, so that's my intention for the skill practice. Make sure you're pulling as high as you can. Right? And then of course in the dips or muscle up positions, find clean, crisp stabilization positions, right? In a muscle ups or in any dips or dip holds. With that, let's get into the workout. You'll go ahead and be able to look at it, but my intention for you of the workout is to try to get as heavy as possible in the shoulder overhead, in the push press, to where you are taking the first 30 seconds of every minute to complete the prescribed reps, right? So for those of you that are like, hey, I can easily burn through the RX weight in 10 seconds, cool. I want you to reach 4 RX plus. If you find that RX plus is too heavy and you're going to be burning through more than 30 seconds, find something in between, right? We have to understand that if we want progress, we need to go ahead and start slowly chipping away at it, and not just think one day that I'm going to go ahead and wake up and be able to like, oh cool, I'm strong enough to do RX plus. No, you've got to slowly inch your way in there. And on the reverse side, same exact thing. If you constantly find yourself scaling and you want to get to the RX point, same exact item. Keep on slowly ramping up in the weight that you're supposed to. Right? The intention for the farmer's carry, guys, this is supposed to be a grip building movement, because sometimes gymnastics is going to be important, right? Just to be able to hold on to the bar as long as we can. So this is just going to be a different way to provide grip strength without having to actually be on a pull-up bar. Again, this is also a movement that can auto-regulate and auto-correct, right? Where the shoulder is holding tension and packed. A lot of us like to be here all day. Of course, I'm overdoing it, but we're in an internal rotation of the shoulder, and not even a healthy position, right? Internal rotation of the shoulder. Healthy position is here, but as you can see, the shoulder's not dumping forward. But all of us actually live in an internally rotated position of the scapula and the shoulder. So we're double dipping on something that technically is not a good position to be in. So the farmer's carry, we're going to be using that farmer's to go ahead and try to pull the shoulder, retract it down and back, squeezing the lat as hard as we can. The armpit, you're going to find that because you're holding on to something, your tricep is going to flare up, and working on the shoulder to be under tension and being packed and finding torque, boom, in the correct position of the shoulder. And that's going to go ahead hard, because if we can't hold the shoulder in the position here, right, to where it's basically just being pulled back down, right, in a position under tension, then how do we expect the shoulder to actually be able to press and track correctly when we're overhead? Right? We have to understand a lot of these starting positions, right? These archetype positions of essentially a hang or the beginning of a front rack position. If we can't get in them correctly in the beginning, how do we expect for us to finish up a snatch or a press or a clean correctly as well? So guys, that's my idea for you guys with the intentions of all 3 parts of tomorrow's training. With that, guys, let's go into mobility stability. Mobility is going to be gigantic, right? There's a lot of pressing overhead, there's pulling overhead, there's swinging. We need to make sure we loosen up that anterior and the posterior side of the shoulder, front and back, making sure the pec is loose, making sure the lat is loose as well. Go ahead, attack that with the lacrosse ball and the foam roller, right? Try to make sure as you do it, you're thinking of trying to work the muscles while it's somewhat under tension and not completely passive. In terms of stability, of course, we need to turn on all the upper back, the triceps for the pressing and the pulling, but the really important part of is we need to make sure that the midline is tight, because if we don't have a solid midline, the obliques, the spine erectors, the abdominals, really compressing that spine, making sure that's a static position, right? When we go ahead and press, because we're grounded into the floor, we're going to be in a wobbly position, and then we're going to lose power transfer up into the implement we're pushing. Or for those of us that are going to be pulling, right? If it's not tight, then we're going to be losing some sort of an organizational, and then not being able to leverage the lower body in either a kip, or we're going to be actually pulling in the wrong position, right? The shoulder's going to end up pulling here in this position here rather than being down because of the midline. It all rolls into each other, okay? So that's the mobility stability tip. Let's go ahead, let's talk about the heat, right? Guys, we have a wonderful week. The weekend was beautiful. We're looking like we're going to have another week, maybe a week and a half of this weather. Making sure, guys, right, we have that challenge I have for you to keep your water bottles on you, empty it 2 times a day, guys. It's even more important, right? You should be drinking that water bottle. Go ahead and try to challenge yourself to where you're increasing that water intake to 3 to 4 times a day. It's hot, guys. Let's be real. We aren't used to this type of heat, and if you're expecting to come into the gym, right, and you start to feel a little wheezy, you start feeling like you're overheated, right? A lot of that is straight just dehydration, right? We're dehydrated normally, and then with this uptick of heat, let's be real, right? It's not going to feel good. So go ahead and keep on drinking water. Let's go ahead. Let's take a little bit of time of like why this open house on January 1st for kind of the first unveiling of some of these public images of our new building, which we're really excited about. Why that is so important. So we understand the permitting process is interesting for the city, right? A lot of us kind of have an overarching understanding of it, just because either friends or family or coworkers have gone through some sort of, or your business, right, that you work for has gone through it. But when you go ahead and you actually go to build something new in the city, you have to go ahead and supply them plans of that, right? And then the city goes ahead and makes sure it's to code, right? But then additionally what that city does is that it splits essentially neighborhoods up, or combines neighborhoods together to create neighborhood design review boards, essentially, right? So what can happen is, as soon as the city sees, okay, all the plans are checked off to code, right, they give the community that's directly around that work site the ability to go ahead and give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down. And if there's enough feedback from the general community that there's a thumbs down or even neutral, the entire plan can go ahead and just be halted and prevented from ever coming to fruition. So it's important that on this open house, that of course as us as members, you guys are amazing, that we're as best good behavior as possible. We aren't acting fake, we're being genuine though. But also this is our chance to really show that the general community that yes, they want us to be in the community, and we are a value added to the community. Is if they see anything negative to what's going to be happening, and we're going to go ahead and be pushing something out that they want in the community, or there's any other negative fact upon the neighborhood, that they can just go ahead and put the kibosh. And then what we thought was a dream of being here in the University District for the rest of our lives is actually just completely turned upside down and halted, right? So that's the importance of this open house, that it allows us to showcase and tries to get on the neighborhood's good side before it goes through this design review board process, right? It's almost kind of like a preemptive move on our part to try to extend our hand and befriend them before they're forced to actually go ahead and review the plans on our side. So guys, hopefully that explains what the open house is. I'll go ahead and see if there's any more questions out there. Have MBA answer them via the Relentless vlog as well if they come up. But guys, remember, be relentless in everything that you do in and outside of the gym. Right? Understand that being relentless is saying no to something in the now that might make you feel good, but does not go ahead and give you any positive momentum into something that gives you that you want to say yes in the future. Guys, we'll go ahead. We'll see you tomorrow.